Welcome to Playing on the Edge Radio, Radical Change with Ease, with Master Healer Megan Edge and Dr. Pat. This is a space for real conversations about what it means to heal, grow, and transform without losing yourself along the way. Here we explore the edges of change, grief, identity shifts, spiritual awakening, burnout recovery, transformation, and the quiet return to belonging. Each episode blends intuitive insight, practical tools, and meaningful spiritual perspectives to help you reconnect with your inner wisdom and navigate life's transitions with more ease, courage, and self-trust. If you're ready to come home to yourself and discover that radical change doesn't have to be hard, you're in the right place.
Everyone, I'm Dr. Pat. We've got a great show for you today. But for those of you, I know many of you know who Megan Edge is and what she does, but I want to remind you because this episode is powerful. It's powerful beyond the limits of the wiring in our brain. Because when we're talking about this topic, it really can capture the full scope of life in many phases, many ways, many journeys, and many processes. And that is home. Home is where the heart is. Now, for Megan, she knows that all too well, but at the same time, she's a master healer. She's out in the world. She's helping people. She has clients that either walk through her door or through the products she has and developed. She gives people solutions. Whether you call her up and you say, hey, my best friend is having a hard time breathing, and she knows exactly the remedy, or if you need to get some insight, because not only is Megan a master healer, she's an amazing coach. And that comes from living a life that is worth living and understanding how to move past the challenges that we face every day and rise above it even stronger and better. So today, get ready. How many of you are struggling with the idea of home? You know what I mean. Maybe you find your family displaced by conflict and arguments. Maybe you just can't help keeping that political conversation out of the dining room. Or maybe you're hanging on to some things where you tell yourself, I'm never going to have a home again. I'm never going to be happy. I'm never going to be ... fill in the blanks. Today's episode is really to have Megan walk us through some of the most important things we need to know, because Megan is returning with her show more powerful, with more clarity, and with more solutions. Megan, thank you for taking this beautiful topic, which is a tough one, isn't it?
Thank you, Pat. Well, the whole reason for this topic is because I made a comment when we first reconnected that it felt like coming home.
Yeah.
But I was so excited to be back with Transformation Talk Radio, back with you and this amazing team that we have to carry on our conversations that we had over 5 years and 50 episodes that we did. And after a break to do some of my own personal healing, the feeling of coming home was so profound that this felt like the perfect topic to relaunch our conversations and this beautiful show together.
And and I know the questioning comes from, wow, there's not enough time in the show to go through the many different scenarios. Everything from people literally not recovering from the dismemberment of families through COVID. And then in the United States, the literally, I'm this, you're that, we're not even going to eat Thanksgiving together. But there's something more important. What for you? I love that you talk about coming home because I've gone through that myself. But yet, what do we mean when we say home? What does that mean for you today, which may not be the same as it did 20 years ago?
It's such a great question. What does home mean to us? And I think for many people, and myself included for a long time, I just thought home was a house. Home was where we lived. It's a physical structure where we have our meals and we sleep and we create memories. And it certainly is that. But as I grew up and I became an adult and I moved many, many times, I started to realize that home is more than that physical structure. It's what you bring with you into any space that you occupy. And it's also a feeling. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is what is that feeling of
Yeah.
home? What does it mean to you? What were your experiences of home when you were growing up? Was home a safe place to be? For a lot of people, it wasn't. There may not have been that sense of safety, quite literally, physically, or also spiritually or soulfully, that sense of not belonging. And as we become adults and we start to recognize that sense of not belonging, if that's what we're living with, there are things that we can do to heal that. And that's also what we're going to be talking about today
Yeah.
is the healing of that sense of homelessness that I'm calling soul homelessness, because we can be in a home. We can have everything we need. All things can be met. All of our needs can be met. And yet we feel alone. We don't feel at home. And what is that sense of not belonging, that sense of disconnect? And so, to answer your question, as I've grown up, as I've matured, my understanding of what home is has grown, it has expanded into a concept of it's the physical, but it is also the mental. That's what we think about
Mm.
it. And then it's the spiritual. It's where does our soul feel most at home?
Yeah. I love this conversation because, both you and I have gone through physical home things in the
Mm-hmm.
past year. Me packing up, leaving the Pacific Northwest, and many people just, they think the worst. Like, why would you move there? What happened? I mean, there's a whole list.
Mm-hmm.
That's because they don't understand the journey. But, coming back here, they don't realize I grew up here.
Right.
They don't have a sense that for me, moving back here was literally stepping on sacred ground,
Mm.
especially in the place I live now. And so each of the segments, we're going to help people understand how to get that. And the way that you've laid out this show is not just to give them information, but to give them things they can walk through. For example, in this particular case, when we think about home and what it means to you today, people can't get there. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, there's been a
Some,
lot of trauma around that sense of belonging and what we thought we
yeah,
knew, where we thought we knew we fit in the world or in our families or in our work. And having that, excuse me, having that rug pulled out from underneath us
yeah,
in many unexpected ways over the last 6 years for people, in very personal and very deep ways. And
yeah,
so there is trauma, there's a collective trauma that many people are holding and are aware of around that sense of belonging and the safety that we thought we might have had with relationships with people. And then because of a disagreement over how the world runs or how we should be allowed to take care of ourselves, finding ourselves bereft of those connections and feeling rudderless. And I'm describing some of my own experiences
yeah,
of relationships I thought were solid that turned out not to be. And then what I did over the last few years to heal that. And that's what I want to be able to give to people today are some practical, quick ways of reconnecting with ourselves. Because
yeah,
ultimately, and as we're going to learn through the show, home is where the heart is. It's that sense of our heart connection with ourselves
yeah,
and with others.
yeah.
I can take us through one right now if you'd
I
like.
think yeah, that's what I love about what we're doing today because we take a moment now so that the
Hmm.
people watching can walk through the process that you and I are talking about to get a sense of what this is without judgment, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Without fracture.
Yeah.
And that's what you do so well. So I would love for you to do that.
Beautiful. So what I'd like to do then is to invite everyone to just gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. If you're not feeling comfortable with your eyes closed, you can just soften your gaze. That just means dropping your eyelids and just allowing your vision to soften. And now take a nice deep breath in and then slowly and gently exhale. Okay. And again, a nice deep breath in and exhale. And one more time. Nice, deep, nourishing breath in and exhale. And bring your awareness to the word home. What shows up for you? Is it a place? Is it a memory? Is it a feeling? Just feel that word home. Even say it out loud or say it in your mind, home. There's a vibration to that word. And sometimes there's a longing that comes with that word. But just allow anything to show up that shows up without judgment. Just notice. And then notice where you feel that in your body. Is it your solar plexus, perhaps, or your heart or your feet? Just allow the word home to settle in your body. And then ask yourself this question: when was the last time I truly felt at home within myself? And I'll say it again. When was the last time I truly felt at home within myself? And then take another deep breath in. And as you release it, slowly open your eyes or bring your gaze up. Have a look around, reconnect with your environment, and just let that experience be in yourself. Oh,
What a beautiful way to walk us through that. And what I loved about it was that it's not just really looking at a whole range of things. You helped us focus on one thing.
yeah.
And, what's interesting about it is that as you were doing it, and I was doing it with you, home was not a physical place for me at this point in time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
My move back to New Jersey wasn't about a place, right? But yet people want to know why would you move from Seattle? I mean, that thing, right?
Yeah. I'm so sorry for this noise in the background.
Oh, I don't even hear it.
You
I
don't
don't
hear it.
even hear
Okay.
it.
My dog.
Don't worry. I did an interview today where the what do you call those grandfather clocks just kept going off along with
Oh.
the phone. So Emily had to navigate that one, and I think she's got quite a bit of editing to do. Um, but part of this too is really looking at how love shows up in that exercise. See, that's what I was struck by. Okay, what am I
Beautiful.
talking about? So let's talk about why people feel disconnected, even when they're not alone, because this is really important. This is an epidemic. This is at
Mm-hmm.
epidemic proportions right now.
It is.
And
Yeah.
and you know that this is you work with clients, this is where you talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you walk through what you just showed us and you get an awakening or an awareness, the next question is now what? So,
Right.
from your perspective, what are you seeing in people? What is going on with loneliness for people?
Yes, and it is an epidemic. It's being called the epidemic of loneliness. And we can look at the reasons for that. And I think it's fairly evident that the use of phones is quite significantly impacting our ability to connect with people in a really meaningful way, in a person to person way. If you get on the bus and you see almost 90% of people are like this on their phones, whereas before this happened, and I'm not saying this to malign phones, but before we had cell phones, I think more people had conversations with strangers throughout their day than we have now. And even in intimate settings like restaurants, I see people on their phones instead of engaging with one another. And I really do believe quite strongly that this is part of why we have this epidemic of loneliness,
Mhm.
because we're no longer gathering in community in the way that we used to do. Now, I feel myself to be very blessed in that as I was growing up, we sat down for dinner. We sat down for dinner every day of the week, myself, my brother, my mother, and my father. And we had conversations about our days and current events. And so I grew up with that. And then I,
Yeah.
I did that with my children as well. Meal times were a sacred time to come together and reconnect after a day of going off and doing different things. I would encourage people to bring that back if it's not something that you're already doing. Try to have conversations with people when you're in the bank lineup or at the grocery store or on the bus. Put your phone away and meet people where they're at. Look them in the eyes and give them a smile and say hello. It's such a simple thing, and yet it's something that I think many people or most people are not consciously aware that they're not doing,
Yeah.
if that
Uh,
makes sense.
It does make sense. And
Yeah.
here's what I've observed. And, let's talk about this because I try not to have a judgment about this because I'm not these people, right? But okay, so I'm around a lot of people that day to day, and myself including, that we are phones and emails. So I made a decision. I do not put my emails on my phone. I
Mm.
made that decision. So all y'all have to wait a little bit longer for me to respond because I'm not going to put it on my phone because I get about 100 emails an hour. And can you imagine if you start to hear that da 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 like over and over again, right? Because why would you have your emails on your phone if you don't want to hear them?
Hmm.
So, but here's an observation, and this is what I'd like your help with. I don't know that I watch many people, and I live in a beautiful place here. This is Linda's place, and this was never about a place. This
Hmm.
was about making a conscious decision because most people would love to have a friend like I have with Linda. Most people, I mean, clearly her family, she took me the good, the bad, and the ugly. I had to tell you, I was pretty good, bad. I was kind of bad and ugly when I was younger. I was like, you could see bad and ugly all over my face. But what a precious time now where you
Mm.
say, and what a blessing to be able to say, why don't we spend the rest of our lives together? I mean, how much worse can it be except that you're a triple Virgo and I'm a triple Sagittarius and we're working that out. But here's the thing, outside people walk beautiful acreage. This place used to be, was going to be a golf course.
Mm.
But I saw something and I made a judgment, Megan. Saw a woman pushing her little baby in her carriage on her phone 24/7 with
Mm.
one hand on the phone doing something and pushing the baby. And that must have triggered something from my childhood. But I'm not sure that that baby cares that mommy was on the phone. Maybe mommy needed to be on the phone because mommy feels freaking lonely. What do you make of that? And what do you make of my little judgment about mommy on the phone with the kid?
Well, first of all, we all judge. And you and I did a show called On the Edge of Judgment. It's one of
Yes,
our
we
shows from
did.
from previous times where we looked at that very thing of what happens when we see something that then triggers a judgment response in ourselves. The first thought that came to my mind when you said that is perhaps there's a memory that is surfacing for you from childhood where you were hoping, wanting, expecting to have the attention of somebody and you weren't able to get it.
Exactly.
And we learn as children what we have to do in order to get the attention that we need in order to thrive. And if there's distractions, and certainly before cell phones, we had lots of distractions. I'm not saying that everything is because we have cell phones. There's a lot going on, 1,000 miles an hour in 50 different directions for pretty much everyone right now.
Yeah.
And we have to work really diligently. I think we have to make a commitment to ourselves to not let ourselves go there and get caught up in that busyness, and also make a commitment to ourselves that if we can recognize, like you did, that there's something showing up for you because of that snapshot that you had that's yours, then it's yours to heal. And that's where we can make a commitment to ourselves to say, right, I just judged that person and I don't know anything about their life. What's coming up for me?
Me, exactly.
Right.
I mean, I'm aware enough to know to do that because that's the first thing I did. I said, what the heck, Pat? Where's that coming from? And then, of course, I went to, why? Well, wait a minute. Maybe this is the only time this mom gets to
Right.
communicate with the outside world, right? You
Yes,
know, and so I stepped back from that and I thought, technology in a way has its divisiveness and its inclusionness.
that's right.
So, from where you sit, why are people feeling so disconnected? But even more importantly, are we using technology as a lame excuse?
As a lame excuse for what?
Not connecting or people you know what I'm saying?
Well, yes, and then at the same time, we're connecting right here in this space, in this shared space,
Yeah,
to have this conversation, and we can do that because we have the technology. So let's not make the technology the bad guy.
exactly.
It's about how we choose to use it and what we choose to do with it. And that comes back to something that's really near and dear to my heart, which is self-responsibility. And for us to be aware of what our habits are, decide which ones are serving us and which ones are not, and then taking that moment to do something about the things that we know we're doing that are not serving us.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, cornerstone prayer is a serenity prayer. In its form,
Mhm.
it's simplistic. It really is. God grant me the serenity, da 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 da, and the
Yeah.
wisdom to know the difference.
And
See,
the wisdom
that
to know
last
the
part
difference.
is the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
And, one of the things you're going to walk us through here in a minute is also an exercise for this, because what you're bringing us to, especially in this reconnection exercise, is the wisdom to know the difference. But before we do that, you're not just talking about things, Megan. You and I have known each other a while. And, we're similar in this way. We get committed and passionate about something. Isn't that what you're doing now, with Megan Edge, with what you're bringing forward, with everything you're produced? Lame language, but I'll say it's like we're giving ourselves a B12 shot so that we do not have soul loneliness, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing this with your business and able to reach out to more people. So you have something you're offering people today. Can you tell them a little bit about it?
So, for those of you who've been with me for a long time, you know how
Yeehaw.
passionate I am about having healing tools that you can work with in between your sessions with me or just as part of your healing journey. And that's why I wrote and created the Heart's Journey Healing Hearts Oracle Cards and Guidebook box set, which is right here behind me for anyone who's watching us
It's
here.
amazing.
These tools, these beautiful oracle cards, they give you this moment to pause in your busy day when you decide you're going to pull an oracle card, and that's the same for any oracle card or tarot card. And then there's a message that allows you a moment of reflection. So you can think of it like a meditation tool. And because I know how powerful these tools are, I want you to have this box set. And so I've created a special gift that gives you 20% off the purchase
Wow.
of the Heart's Journey, and that is available. It'll be in the show notes for sure, and on the website as well, my website or the TTR website, so that you can access your own inner wisdom and reconnect with your heart,
Yeah.
because that's what this
So
is all
let's give
about.
everybody your website because, in addition to this, people can work with you. And that's the best way to really tap into what you're doing and how you can help them. So, which website should we send them to?
Send them to meganedge.ca.
Okay,
And
great.
everything goes from there. And if there's interest, if people are interested in knowing more about the tools that I produce, which include the healing products that I make from wild crafted, ethically foraged produce products that I go out into the forest and I harvest, that's a whole other conversation and show that we'll do. They can go to Beyond
Yeah.
the Garden Gate
Yeah,
Botanicals.ca,
and
which
I
is
want to just
my other
tell
website.
you, I'm going to make a plug for Megan because I called Megan, oh my gosh, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I said, you know what, I need some kind of remedy for this. And she put it together. She put together two, I call them remedies, so correct
Mm.
me if you want to,
No, that's right.
but there are two remedies. One was a
Hmm.
topical one, and one was, something you just put in drinks. And, this is the kind of thing that when you're looking at Megan and you're working with her, there's no halfway to Megan Edge. There's a holistic approach to what she does, but also to life. There's an understanding that within your heart, it is a powerful, powerful thing, but it's also extremely vulnerable.
Hmm.
So before we go to break, help us step out and share the exercise, just like you did before.
Okay. So take a moment and bring yourself into your body. And this is a quick thing. Just think, my body. Oh, yes, my body, this beautiful vessel that carries me through life. And place one hand over your heart and the other one on your belly, your solar plexus. And just hold that for a moment. Feel the connection with your body. And take a slow breath in and feel your body rise beneath your hands. And then exhale and just notice, are you there? You can ask that question of yourself. Am I here? Or have I been living somewhere outside of myself? Okay. Because disconnection happens quietly and it happens gradually. But in this moment right here, just by touching yourself on your heart and your solar plexus, placing your hands lovingly on your body, reconnection happens. And that's it. That's how quick and simple that exercise is. At any
And
point in the day,
powerful.
you can do it and feel that powerful reconnection. Yes, absolutely.
I should have had that tool last night. I did prepare for the show, but I
Mhm.
didn't think about this particular tool. And it is quick, powerful, and direct, just like Megan Edge. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're not done because, Megan and I know what this is like. We're not two people that pulls a book off the shelf and says, let's talk about something in the book. We do read a lot of books. We do have a lot of tools. But when it comes to doing a show like this is all about what most people are not wanting to talk about. And that's how to make that soul shift. That's what
Mhm.
Megan does. When we come back, how do you recognize this thing called soul homelessness? I mean, just how does that feel when I say that? Say that. Soul homelessness. When we come back, Megan's going to walk us through it and also what to do about it. Megan, let's take a short break. Emily, we'll be right back. Are you ready to listen to your soul? Discover the power of pausing and turning in on Our Soul Whisper with Kathy Belmont and Dr. Pat. This sacred show offers a safe space for self-discovery, healing, and soulful transformation. Let your inner voice rise, be heard, and gently guided into expression. Tune in every first and third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Subscribe now so you never miss the whisper meant just for you. Visit OurSoulWhisper.com.
Luvology is where your body remembers what your soul never forgot. I work with men and women who are often at the edge of midlife, who are done with surface level living. People who've built the life but still feel numb, who ache for something deeper, more presence, more truth, more touch. We work with what's been silenced: desire, shame, grief, raw pleasure, and the truths your body has been whispering for years. Using ancient practices, modern science, and yummy, delicious sex tools that awaken rather than perform, we reclaim what it means to feel deeply and live turned on from the inside out. This isn't about fixing. This is about remembering. This is conscious hedonism, rooted, real, and alive. If your body's been asking for more, you are in the right place. This is Luvology. Want to go there? Book a compatibility call at gwenhamcarsley.com. Let's begin.
Festa della Donna with Esther Graham honors all women far beyond a single day of celebration. Regardless of your race, gender, sexual orientation, or religion, Esther helps you rise to your full potential to live fully in God's plan and to do what you were divinely created to do. Festa della Donna offers programs that help you fulfill your dreams and desires. For more information and to get your free copy of the Festa della Donna Retreat Self-Care Guide, visit fdbwomen.com.
There is more to life than simply surviving or even thriving. There's flourishing. High performance and quantum success coach Beth Larson helps you calibrate and elevate your life. Beth specializes in working with women who want more from their life, more energy, joy, passion, connection, and more meaning. As your coach, she will help you get clear about your life, prioritize what's important, and become a master of your energy. Visit BethLarsonCoaching.com.
Have you ever faced a situation where you weren't quite sure how to handle it with poise, confidence, and grace? Of course you have. We all have. Well, tune in to the Change Mastery Show with me, John J. Murphy. Together, my co-host, Dr. Pat, and I will introduce you to a different way to think about change. Not as something to fear or resist, but as a gift. Join us the second Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Subscribe, share, and start your journey to mastery at John J. Murphy.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. For those of you that are just tuning in, I want to be very clear. I'm Dr. Pat, but you know, where you are at the moment is listening to Megan Edge's show, Playing on the Edge Radio with Megan Edge, Radical Change with Ease, and so much more. Today, we're talking about something that both of us have been impacted by personally. Home is where the heart is. And Megan has just walked us through a couple of things to help us understand the underpinnings and the multidimensional layer of what we're talking about. Because many of us think our house is our home. And if that were true, maybe we wouldn't have the epidemic we have. So before we talk about this amazing phrase that you've created here, soul homelessness, I want folks to know that you have solutions. So what is the best way for them to connect with those solutions?
The best way is to go to my website, meganedge.ca. You can see all the work that I do, how I do my work, why I do my work. You can also hop over to my YouTube channel, which is Megan Edge Healing on YouTube. And there are over 300 different videos, different resources of ways in which I work and I walk in the world, and the things that you can do to help yourself walk in the world in lots of different ways. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook and on Instagram, and I'm now on Substack. I've just opened up my Substack.
Sweet.
I'm excited to be there. That's a beautiful platform to be. So lots and lots of ways to find me. Reach out and let's have a conversation.
Look, this is an important topic, and you and I, honestly, we can't emphasize how important it is, because the consequences of this go far beyond a conversation or a job loss or alcoholism. They really do. So talk to us about what soul homelessness is, because just saying it, I have a vivid sense of it inside of me.
Yeah.
So therefore, I must have had an experience with this. But walk us through what it is.
So let's take those words, soul and homelessness. And generally, when we think of homelessness, we think of the physical experience of not having a roof over our heads. And in every city across North America, this is an epidemic of homelessness. Where I live here in Victoria, British Columbia in Canada, Pandora Street is the street where there are hundreds of people living on the street. Interestingly, they are in a form of community, and they are often looking out for each other and looking out for one, and like looking out for themselves and for one another in community. They've created community for themselves. But from the outside looking in, they don't have a home. And so that's the physical experience of homelessness. The soul, when we think of our souls, and everyone has their own experience of what a soul is, but for me personally, my soul is that higher sense of myself and what connects me to what I believe to be source, something outside of myself that helps me move through this life, a guiding force of some sort. It could be God, it could be goddess, it could be spirit guides. It doesn't matter what you call them, but it's that sense of I'm not here all alone. I have something that helps me move through my life. When we put these two words together, our soul and the sense of homelessness, it's that disconnect from ourself. And I'm having a memory come up for me right now of sitting at the dining room table at my father and stepmother's house one day when I was still with my former husband, the father of my two daughters. And conversation was swirling all around me. And I had this feeling of, I don't have anything to say. And it was quite profound because I'm normally a very talkative person, as you know. I felt bereft of a voice. And that experience was what started me on my journey of reacquainting myself with who I am and who I came here to be. But in that moment, I had that sense of soul homelessness because I had lost touch with an understanding of who I am and what my voice is for and why I have my voice. And so it's that sense of, disconnection, of numbness. I felt numb in that moment. And there was nothing tragic going on, except that I had slowly gotten myself to a place in my life where I realized I was no longer connected to my purpose. And I had a sense of not belonging, and I didn't belong at that table. I didn't belong in my marriage any longer. I didn't belong. And it was a very disconcerting feeling. But what I was able to do with that feeling slowly and over time was to reacquaint myself with who I am and find myself through a series of very challenging and difficult choices that I had to make, or that I chose to make, in order to reacquaint myself with my soul's purpose in life. And that's really when I started doing this work as a healer and putting out my shingle and saying, right, the world needs healers and I can do this work
Yeah.
because I've been through it. And so with that and all the tools that I learned, I can then bring that sense of healing to people who are also experiencing this sense of disconnect from their soul and their soul's purpose and the meaning of life. And really what, as I'm describing it, what mainstream medicine and psychology and psychiatry would call that is deep depression.
Yeah, that's right.
And what depression is a deep grief that has not been healed. As far as I'm concerned, and from the work that I do, every case of depression is deep unresolved grief.
Yeah.
And then we mask it with medication that doesn't do the healing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
We're here, we are a social species. We're here to connect and to be in community. That's how we thrive. When we don't have that, we suffer. That's why isolation is a form of torture. It's a punishment, it's a torture, because it's so important that we have this connection. And where that connection begins is here. It begins with us. And there's two words that also have come to my mind while we're having this conversation, which is bored and lonely. And I'm remembering my aunt, my dear aunt who passed away recently, and she would often complain to me that she was bored. And I would say, well, boredom equals chores. That's what we do in our house. If you tell me you're bored,
Yeah,
I'm going to give
yeah.
you something to do so you're not bored anymore.
Yeah.
What I'm realizing, this insight that's just come to me right now in this moment, is that what she really was saying is that she was lonely. And I'm curious, for those who are listening, if you've ever felt a sense of boredom, would it be true to say that actually what you were feeling is lonely, not connected to something or someone in
Yeah.
that moment?
Look, you just hit something right here, because how often have we heard people that have been in our lives that have passed? And I go back and I think about Linda's mom as an example, and outlasting, for lack of a better word, outlasting the people that were part of her connection in life.
Mm,
And even though she may comment in joking, like I'm the last one standing or whatever that is, right? Um, you could just feel the energy of that.
yeah.
And part of this is not knowing what to do with it. And that's why you're going to share an exercise with us, because we can do some things. But I'll tell you, Megan, whenever I've been in that spot, I've not been able to do it by myself. I've had to reach out for help because I couldn't see.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what I was feeling.
And maybe didn't even have the words to
Right.
to really identify and hone in on, what does this feel like for me? This thing of I'm bored is, and underneath that is I'm lonely. I'm depressed is that actually I'm really sad. Once we can go beneath the surface words,
Yeah.
then we can start to do the work. So here's what I would love for our audience to do right now, and for you as well. I want to guide you through something really gentle in all of this, all right? So again, you can just softly close your eyes or gentle your gaze, and imagine yourself standing on the edge of a path. Whatever that path looks like, let the details fill in wherever you find yourself. This path represents your life. So look behind you on the path from where you've come. Notice where you are in this moment on the path, and then gaze along the path, because what's in front of you is your future. Somewhere along the way, down the path behind you, you may have stepped away from yourself. And not because you chose to necessarily, but because life asked you to survive. Feel that for a moment and just feel it from the observer role, observer position. You're simply seeing this experience. Okay, now imagine ahead of you on your path, looking down the path, you see a house, a home. It could show up as a physical structure. It may be a feeling. This home is a space that feels warm, safe, and deeply familiar. And if your experience of home when you were growing up, or even now, is not those things, I invite you to imagine that this space that's in front of you, that is your home, is safe and warm and familiar. Walk towards it and notice what comes up for you as you are walking towards this beautiful home. Is there hesitation? Maybe you're feeling some grief or perhaps relief that this space exists for you. And as you reach the door, and before you turn the handle to step inside this beautiful space, ask yourself, am I truly ready to come home to who I truly am? Am I ready to come home to who I truly am? And there's no right answer or wrong answer, only honesty. And whatever your answer was, you still get to open the door and step inside.
Mm-hmm.
You are home. And open your eyes, deep breath, connect back to us.
That was amazing. It was amazing. You know, what I love about what you just did here, but what you've been doing throughout the show is, first of all, it's a demonstration of your approach to people, working with people. And it's a powerful healing approach. And, you know, taking this topic and really presenting it to the audience today in a way that's safe, but also that gives them a better understanding of themselves. And, you know, I just did this exercise and I'll just chat for a minute about it. And I was a little surprised at what came up. But I think I understand it. And so we live in a place that's a beautiful townhouse facility. I mean, it's just gorgeous. But they have rules. We have rules. Has a very bad impression. But and part of the rules are that in the little small deck patch you have, there are things you can put out there and things you can't. So that's hard for me to understand. And yet I have to honor that because I don't want Linda to get in trouble. But what came up for me is how important growing a garden is. And of course, we've talked about this, but how important growing a garden is. Why? And one of the things that hit me was that I spent time around my grandfather. You know, at this point in time in my life, my mom was an addict alcoholic. They hid all that. So I went relative hopping. But when it came to grandpa, who I later found out was born in Brazil, changed his name to marry grandma, and was a farmer, all I can remember is the time I spent in his shed. And this beautiful, in the Bronx, by the way, I actually think it was a front for something else because he was, you know, had used tires. That was his big business. Oh my God. But he had rows and rows and rows of vegetables and herbs and beautiful trees in the middle of the Bronx in like a dump area. So there's something about that feeling that I connected with now that made it very important for me to have a different conversation on what would be okay for me to do and grow here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to ask you this question, because a lot of times we get that and we think we have to explain ourselves. I mean, I don't really have a why. I have an emotional connection. That's the conversation. So, Megan, as we look at this and we move forward, right? This is a moment where I got to express coming home to myself. I mean, it may not seem like that to people, but that was a glimpse of my past bringing me to a future that wanted me to connect with something that was so loving, so caring, that in a rotten childhood, I could still remember that. So, how do we come home to ourselves?
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that because that's so beautiful and so lovely. And one of the questions I put out on Facebook today when I was sharing about our show was, where do you feel most at home? And for me, well, it used to be a place. It used to be our beautiful cottage in the Gulf Islands here.
Yeah.
Uh, but when we lost that space, I realized that part of my journey moving forward was to redefine for me what is that space that feels the most safe and the most welcoming and the most where I most belong. And I realized as I posed that question today that for me, it's in my garden or walking in the forest or down on the beach. It's always nature. And so it really, now I look back on it, it was less about the place that I called home as it is where I feel most myself. And where do I feel most myself? I feel that when I'm with nature. There are certainly people in my life who I can be completely myself with, and I love them for that. But it's not their job to make me feel good about myself. That's my
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And that's where nature supports me in that I know that that's a space that is safe and supportive. And so that's where I went because as I was doing the visualization for our audience, I'm also
Mm.
in that visualization.
Yeah.
And that was my experience of it, is it's not a house, actually.
Yeah.
It's me. It's me. That's where I come back to every time. And so while a home is so important, it really is. We need to have our needs met in order to thrive. But really, this is the whole thing about home is where the heart is, which became one of the oracle cards in the deck of the Healing Hearts oracle cards, for that feeling of, I take that with me. You take that experience of being with your grandfather in that beautiful garden
Yeah.
with you. That gave you a sense of belonging. You were respected there. He felt safe, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, a home is important because it keeps us dry and it allows us to have a place to sleep with a roof over our head and all those other things. But more importantly, for this conversation especially, it's a space where memories live. It's a space where we create memories, and no one can take that away from you. Those are yours, right? That's what's so important about this conversation, is the understanding that your memories are yours, and you get to make them.
Yeah.
And that's not to dismiss the epidemic of homelessness, of physical homelessness or soul homelessness or loneliness or any of those things. And I'm not suggesting that this conversation alone is going to solve all the world's problems, but hopefully for some it's a stepping stone
Yeah.
to a different sort of relationship with themselves and an understanding of how important that relationship is.
Yeah. I think what's so amazing about, the way you're walking us through this is a part of this journey that people, generally speaking, don't really address, right? They
Mm-hmm.
don't address the underpinnings.
Yeah.
And yet most of us sometimes just want to be heard. I mean, the sense of invisibleness, which we
Mm-hmm.
didn't really touch upon, but that's a sense of invisibleness that transcends a conversation of, do you actually see me physically or do you really see me? What's that favorite line? First time we heard the line was in Avatar, the first Avatar movie, right? When they're
Mm.
talking, and I guess she says to him, I see you, or something like that. That was
Yes.
the first time that got imprinted in our
Mm-hmm.
consciousness.
Mm.
And people understood that the meaning of that was much greater than, look, I see you, Megan, I'm looking at you now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of it.
Yeah.
Now, just like before, you have a way to help us come home to ourselves. Would you walk us through that now?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, we want to understand that coming home doesn't happen all at once, right? But it does happen in moments like this, like right now, right here, when I invite you to take a breath in and exhale again, back in your body, and ask yourself this question: what is one way I can come home to myself today? What is your body asking for? What is your soul asking for? How are you answering that question? What is showing up for you? It could be rest, it could be nourishment. It could be an invitation to tell yourself a new story that is rooted in compassion rather than criticism about who you are in this world and how your experiences have shaped you.
Mm.
And it may also be reaching out for support, because you don't have to do this alone, as Dr. Pat said. But that question of taking care of ourselves is so important. What is one way that I can come home to myself today? And then the really important thing is doing it, because action loves alchemy. So opening your eyes and coming back to us, what was that thing that your soul said, I need you to do this for me today, right? And it could be something like working with the oracle cards. And yes, this is a segue, but here we go. I have this beautiful deck of oracle cards. And one of the ways that we can work with oracle cards is be
Yeah.
using them for guidance
Exactly.
and reflecting on the message.
And that's another way not to have to do this alone. So
That's right.
tell people, well, that's why you created the cards, right?
That's why I
So,
created them. Yeah.
right. Tell people how they can get the cards.
So you can go online, you can go to my website, and there's a page there called the Healing Hearts, or the Heart's Journey, and you can click on that and all the information about the cards. And the book is not just cards, it's actually a whole
Yes, it
healing
is.
toolkit that comes in this beautiful box set, which is this hardcover box set. And in there is a journal and there is a guidebook. And in the guidebook, I share my story about why these hearts became so important to me as I was leaving that marriage of 23 years and looking for some way to help myself as I moved through all of those choices that I made to bring myself back to myself. And really the card that I'm holding up now is the card of home is where the heart is.
Mm.
And this is the windowsill of that beautiful cottage on the Gulf Islands that we no longer have. And this little
Yeah.
heart is a brick, heart-shaped stone that I found, or a heart-shaped brick that I found on the beach, where I spent
Mm-hmm.
so much of my time over the last 57 years uh, being on that beautiful beach. And it just seems so poignant for this to be home is where the heart is. And then on each of the cards, there's a message. And the message for home is where the heart is that you carry a piece of home with you wherever you go, spiritually and physically. If you are feeling lost in this moment, connect with your home, whatever and wherever it might be, and allow yourself to feel nurtured and supported. And then you can take that card and you can go into the guidebook, because each card has its own page with a beautiful full color photo of the card.
Yeah.
And then more resources, more suggestion, more advice, more story. Because this is what I work with, is the stories that we tell ourselves, the words that we use to describe our experiences, and how we can change the relationship that we have with our stories by understanding the importance of how we are describing them and learning a new language in order to describe them. Do you want me to share what the book has to say about it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this beautiful brick heart rests on a worn windowsill of the one place I still call home. And even though we don't have it in our lives anymore, Pat, it's still there.
I know.
It will always be there, because I
Yeah.
have so many beautiful, beautiful memories. And I have such gratitude that we had that space to be in, and that I was able to share it with my girls and
Yeah.
so many friends who came, and they had their experience of it as well. That always stays with us. Bricks represent structure and foundation, which is what our homes are. Home is where the heart is most happy And this can be a physical place, it can be a way of feeling, and it can be a thinking or the energy of another person. Home is source in which we all connect to one another. You can feel lost and lonely when you are far from home. This heart asks you to consider that your loneliness is an illusion. And we didn't really get into that, the idea that loneliness is an illusion or that the things we're experiencing are made up. They're not less real, but because they are made up, because we've made them up, we can change the relationship that we have with them. The feeling of being home, of belonging, is always with you in your heart center. Imagine the ideal home with the most loving people in the most beautiful space, and allow that vision to sustain you in times of doubt. After all, wherever you go, there you are, home. Bring your sense of belonging into every situation, and you will discover a way to live with meaning and intention. And then the intention is to take that message and sit with it, ruminate about it, meditate on it, think about what home means to you. And that brings us full circle to where we started from, which is, what is it to you? What does it mean to you? Is it a person? Is it a feeling? Is it a place? And if it doesn't feel safe, what can you do differently with it? And one of the things that came up to me, one of the sayings that came to me as we were having this conversation, Pat, was we teach people how to treat us.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big self-responsibility piece. When I first heard that, I had goosebumps all over my body.
Right.
I started to cry because I realized, right, I don't have to feel helpless. I have taught someone how to treat me. And if I don't like the way they're treating me, then it's my job to change how they are allowed to treat me. And that's a whole healing journey.
That's a great episode.
Yeah.
Megan, thank you so much for today. Please make sure people know how they can find you, how they can book a session with you to get the oracle cards, all of the above. What's the best place to go?
Head on over to meganedge.ca, my website. You can also reach out to me and connect with me across social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Substack, YouTube. There's lots of resources there for you. And the special healing gift that I'm offering today is this beautiful 20% off of your purchase of the box set. And I'm so happy to sign it for you with a loving message if you would like, or if you're purchasing it as a gift for someone, I can personalize it for you as well.
I love it. Thank you so much for that, Megan. And I want to just remind everybody, and today, if you've missed any part of this, go back. But one of the things you're not hearing us say about you, we're not blaming you. We're not judging you. And we invite you not to blame and judge yourself.
Yes.
This is a journey. It's a soul's journey. And it got Megan and I here today to chat about it with you so we can help you in whatever way. Thank you, Megan, for everything.
Thank you so much. And my last thing I want to say to everybody is, please be gentle with yourselves. Give yourself a moment of gentleness today. Put your hand on your heart, put your hand on your solar plexus, and just say, right, I can be gentle with myself today. Yeah. Beautiful.
Or you could listen to Tina Turner's song, You're Simply the Best. We'll see you next time.
Love it. Thank you for joining us today on Playing on the Edge Radio. If you felt seen, supported, or inspired, take a moment to subscribe, share this episode with someone you care about, and continue the journey with us. For more healing resources, to book a healing session, and to learn more about Megan's work, including The Heart's Journey, Healing Hearts Oracle Cards and Guidebook, visit meganedge.ca. And remember, healing isn't something you have to wait for. It begins the moment you choose to come home to yourself.